You remember when Minister Farrakhan stood up for Nigeria? It brought tears to my eyes whenever I watch this. I have been with this clip for a long time. I have been watching and watching, and I said I'm going to share these thoughts that I had in me. I'm going to share that with you here, Your Majesties. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for returning. Trust you and yours are well, and you're loving yourself and all this, like always. Many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my team subscribers. You are loved, celebrated, and of course appreciated. Nigeria. Niger area. In short, this is a name that was given by, according to some Nigerians, the girlfriend of Lord Lugard, Flora Shaw. In short, somebody said the side chick. That was on a lighter note, but it's unfortunate. When you look at the blow that the continent had received from so-called invaders, you shed tears. You shed tears. Even though we had contributed to our own downfall as a people, as a continent, the world has done us wrong. And I don't think they can pay for all the evil they had done to us. It is nature that will pay them back. Nigeria had become a prayer point, especially when you talk about the continent and it comes to Nigeria. You take a deep breath because a lot is going on. It has become a prayer point because at this point, people like us, we don't know what to say anymore. In as much as there are still few good things that are happening in the country, the citizens are crying by day and asking, praying, hoping for a change. And that's why I said Nigeria has become a prayer point. Most of the times, the question that Pan-Africans are asking is, you talk about other places so much, you talk about Nigeria. The reason why Nigeria is not always on our lips most of the times is because we are hoping that Nigeria changes. Nigeria has become the shadow of herself. Just very recently, it has become a shadow of herself. Before Nigeria came across this white man, Nigeria was living well. The different tribes in the region that was merged together as Niger area, they were living well. But after that merging in 1914, and a lot began to happen, a lot changed, and the people who lived in the area, their lives were affected negatively. Nigeria became gradually the shadow of herself because of the happenings in the country. Nigeria was looked upon as the giant of Africa. That is also now a history. Because when I say the giant of Africa, not just by number, by a whole lot of things, infrastructure development, the pace at which Nigeria was growing. But Nigeria became the shadow of herself because of a lot of involvement from the British, from America, from France. So the whole hand of colonization came heavily on the country called Nigeria. And that is why Nigeria became the shadow of herself. And the audacity of these people to sit down, position their mouth, and say ill about Nigeria. They who are the reason why Nigeria is what it is today.
You go to Nigeria, which is, if not the most corrupt nation in Africa, and it is, it could be the most corrupt nation in the world, Minister Farrakhan.
Oh, now, Mr. Wallace.
It is the most corrupt nation that I have ever covered. I've been there 25 years ago, and I've been there as recently as last year.
Fine. So what? 35 years old. That's what that nation is. Now, here's America, 226 years old. You love democracy, but there in Africa, you're trying to force these people into a system of government that you just have accepted. 30 years ago, black folk got the right to vote. You're not in any moral position to tell anybody how corrupt they are. You should be quiet and let those of us who know our people go there and help them get out of that condition. But America should keep her mouth shut wherever there's a corrupt regime, as much hell as America has raised on the earth. No, I will not allow America or you, Mr. Wallace, to condemn them as the most corrupt nation on earth when you have spilled the blood of human beings. Has Nigeria dropped an atomic bomb and killed people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Have they killed off millions of Native Americans? How dare you put yourself in that position as a moral judge? I think you should keep quiet, because with that much blood on America's hands, you have no right to speak. I will speak because I don't have that blood on my hands. Yes, there's corruption there. Yes, there's mismanagement of resources. Yes, there is abuse. There's abuse in every nation on earth, including this one. So let's not play holy to moralize on them. Let's help them.
I'm not moralizing. I'm asking a question, and I got an answer.
Why would you put it as the most corrupt regime in the world? That doesn't make sense.
Can you think of one more corrupt?
Yeah, I'm living in one. I'm living in one. Yes. You've done a hell of a thing on this earth, so you should not be the one to talk. You should be quiet when it comes to moral condemnation, in my judgment. I didn't mean to be so fiery.
No, that's good. That's good.
That's my passion.
Yeah, Majesties, that was Minister Farrakhan there. And the way he stood up for Nigeria, like I said from the beginning, and whenever I watch that clip, I always get emotional, because the same people who are the cause, who are the reason behind the predicaments that Nigeria is in, are the same people who sit behind closed doors and say the rubbish they say. You see, what he was expecting was not what he got from Minister Farrakhan. He was expecting that Minister Farrakhan would agree with him. Oh, yes, Nigeria is so corrupt. Nigeria is this, Nigeria is that. But no, he was surprised to see that Farrakhan had, came to him with the opposite. And I was happy with the reply that was given. Okay? We can change the hands of time by correcting the mistake that was made. This is exactly how Nigeria can be freed from the bond that she's in, what she has been tied to. Nigeria has been tied to France. Nigeria has been tied to, in short, British is the first. Okay? Nigeria has been so tied to Britain. Nigeria has been so tied to France. Nigeria is tied to America. In short, the love between America and Nigeria right now, is having some issues. That love is having some issues right now, because there are some decisions Donald Trump will make. The president of Nigeria will say, no, we're not going to accept, especially when he said he want to send those hardened criminals to Nigeria. And you see the audacity for me. Donald Trump, I don't know, with his full chest, he was asking the Nigerian government to give these people citizenship. You know these people are not going to be good for Americans. That's why you're kicking them out. Then send them back to their original nations. No, they are not going to accept them because they are hardened criminals. And Nigeria is the best country for you to send them to, because you feel that Nigerians are thieves and criminals. So there's nothing wrong sending thieves and criminals to Nigeria, right? If not, I don't see why Donald Trump conceived sending these hardened criminals to Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria is in the state where she is today, but she's going to scare through. Nigeria will come out. Yes, Nigeria is a shadow of herself today. Nigeria can still pick herself up. Things can still change. The pace at which I'm seeing the youth of Nigeria right now, the wind of change is coming gradually. Nigerians themselves are standing up to their government right now. They are calling out their government. So things is going to change. So don't think that Nigeria is going to be in that hellhole forever. Nigeria will rise up. Nigeria will stand up. And you see, because Nigeria became the shadow of herself, it affected Nigerians to the point where the youth could do anything just to survive. They could fall into any bad hand just to survive. They could take up any dirty work just to survive. It is because of the situation that Nigeria was in. And that's why it has affected them till today, that wherever they go to, there is always an outcry. Because they had to live the hard way. they had to survive the hard way. In as much as whether you decide to be good or bad is still a personal decision, the environment also contributes a lot. And that is how, or that is the situation of these people. These Nigerians who might be involved in one crime or the other out there. It is because their government had failed them. They themselves had failed themselves. Like I keep saying, the government should not always be the excuse that we give for the evil that we do. In as much as there are others who have fallen because the government failed, there are still lots of Nigerians who are struggling, holding their head high, doing legitimate businesses to survive. They are still available. And it is through the help of these very ones that Nigeria will come back to her feet. Leave your thoughts and opinion there at the section. I'm going to see you in my next one. Until then, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive, always your majesties. Bye for now.
I just found out something astonishing about the origin of Nigeria that shocked the hell out of me. Nigeria was never meant to be a country. It was something else entirely. In this video, I'm going to tell you what I discovered. Oh, and I want to acknowledge Burna Boy for bringing my attention to this in his song Another Story on his album African Giant. Thank you for inspiring this video, and all of you let Burna Boy know that he got to me, and now I'm sharing this information with you. The creation of Nigeria was never about democracy, never about Christianity. It was about money, business, and profit. None of it for us. Pay attention. The area now known as Nigeria was called the Slave Coast up to 1870. This was the point at which the British had stopped slave trading and moved on to palm oil as their primary commodity out of Nigeria. One of the main suppliers of palm oil was the Benin Kingdom, and you have to watch my video on one of the greatest African kings most of you have never heard of, Country.When. This is an important story for me personally because I'm from that region, so they are my people, and his fight with the British Empire over palm oil is one of the greatest stories of African colonial history. Anyway, everyone wanted palm oil, and especially the British. A man called George Goldie set up the United African Company in 1879, which was then changed to the National African Company. He structured the palm oil business in the Niger Delta region, and by 1884 he had a monopoly that the British could exploit. So in 1886, Goldie violated the agreement he had made with the chiefs and moved his operations into River Niger and Benue. The company was also renamed to Royal Niger Company. Goldie tricked the chiefs into signing unfair trade deals, giving Goldie exclusive rights to export palm oil instead of what the chiefs thought would be free trade. These contracts were written in English, a language we didn't understand, and based on laws that were not our own. This is similar to the land negotiations done with Native Americans in what is now known as the United States of America, where deals were done via contracts in English with laws that had nothing to do with the Native Americans. There was a meeting called the Berlin Conference in 1884 to 1885, set up by Germany's first Chancellor, Otto von Bismarck. This was where colonial powers discussed how to carve up Africa and structure trade across the pieces of our continent they would take. We were not part of these conversations. The best way to think of this is like the NBA draft. Guys were out there making bids between lunch breaks and spa sessions. At this conference, the Kingdom of Opobo was given to Britain. When King Jaja of Opobo tried to export his own palm oil, he was accused of obstructing commerce and then exiled. How crazy is that? And on his way home in 1891, he was poisoned with a cup of tea. Guys, I couldn't make this stuff up. The Jaja of Opobo story made other chiefs wary of their deals with the British. King Koko of Nembe Brass was one of them. He tried to take down the Royal Niger Company and attacked the company headquarters in Akassa, Bayelsa on January 29, 1895. King Koko captured 60 white men and lost 40 of his own soldiers. He used the 60 hostages to demand he be allowed free trade, the agreement he believed he had with the British company. They refused, and he killed 40 of his hostages. The British Royal Navy retaliated by leveling the city of Brass completely on February 20th, 1895. King Koko went into exile, and the British not only took control of the palm oil he once had, but also fined the people of his kingdom £500, as well as confiscating their weapons. Tragically, King Koko committed suicide in exile in 1898, after being branded an outlaw by the British company that had taken his kingdom, palm oil, and reputation. The Royal Niger Company sold its territory to the British government for £865,000 in the late 1800s. This territory was known as Nigeria. In 1914, the Southern Protectorate and Northern Protectorate was combined by Lord Lugard, and like that, the Royal Niger Company was rebranded as a country which would gain independence on October 1st, 1960. And Lugard is a street in Nigeria that still exists today. The Royal Niger Company changed its name to the Niger Company Limited, and it was then acquired by Unilever. Unilever still operates in Nigeria to this day. And that, my brothers and sisters, is how Nigeria came to be. We have a long way to go to fix the country, but we won't ever have a hope and a solution to our problems if we don't know how they started. What I told you in this video is just a small part of the foundations that led to unrest, civil war, economic instability, and so forth. Remember, it's not about asking anyone else to fix this, or even wasting time blaming those we know caused and perpetuated it. This is about knowing our history. Nigeria was never a country we created. It was a company designed by colonizers for profit, and a lot of the infrastructure put in place for that siphoning of resources out of our land is still very much in place today. Crude oil simply replaced palm oil, and soon lithium may replace crude oil. Honestly, I feel angry not just for what happened to my ancestors, but for the fact that I wasn't taught about this in school in Nigeria, and that our children are not being taught about these things now. Every Nigerian should know everything about who we are,